Hey everyone, this is Chad. Thanks for coming to Arctic Horde Wargaming. Today we have a match between Puck and Talha. Puck brought his Imperial Guard, the Cadians, and Talha brought the Necrons. But before we get into this, if you could like, share, subscribe, hit the bell, join the Horde. These guys are preparing for a tournament that's actually starting tomorrow. This is posting on a Friday, and the tournament's this weekend. So we're going to wish them luck in that, and this was prep for that tournament. So stay tuned for the show, folks. Here we go. Alright, we're going to roll the CU drops first.
Close, but no cigar.
No cigar. I'll take first.
As I mentioned, while these guys are setting up, this is prep for a tournament that's actually this weekend. It's the Spring Up GT. It's a local tournament here. You can check out the link down below. It's run by the same folks that run the Renegade Open, so definitely check out that link down below.
Mission briefing. Overrun. Two forces are converging on the battlefield at breakneck speed, determined to smash aside their foes and take control of this region in one fell swoop. If one side can break through the other spearhead before support forces can establish a beachhead, the enemy's front will be completely overrun. Primary objectives. Domination is a progressive objective. You are charged with total domination of the battlefield. At the end of each command phase, player's turn, it is to score 5 victory points for each side of the following conditions they satisfy for a maximum of 15 victory points. They control 2 or more objective markers. They control 3 or more objective markers. They control more objective markers than their opponent controls. This primary objective cannot be scored during the first battle round. Secondary objectives are overrun, a progressive objective. Score a number of victory points at the end of your command phase. If you control 1 or more of the objective markers, they're within your opponent's territory. So you get 1 objective marker, 2 victory points, 2 objective markers, 3 victory points, 3 objective markers, 5 victory points.
What page is that on?
That is page 50 in the chapter approved Grand Tournament packet.
Hi, my name's Talha, and I am fielding 2,000 points of Necrons. Starting over in this corner, we have a battalion detachment with 20 warriors. The warriors have 20 Gauze Reapers and are helped out with a Royal Warden. The Royal Warden also has the Veil of Darkness relic, allowing the Warden plus 1 unit of warriors to essentially deep strike anytime during the game, once per game. Right next to them, we have a squad of Scorpic Destroyers, and along with the Scorpic Destroyers, there is a Canoptic Plasmacyte who's going to follow along and try to buff them up if they can get into close combat. Behind this building, we have a Night Scythe that I still have to paint, that has a squad of 10 warriors inside of it with Gauze Reapers. Over here in the middle, we have another blob of warriors, 20 warriors with Gauze Flayers, and a small squad of 3 Scarabs right behind the building. And additionally, we have 1 Necron Overlord. He is going to be my Warlord and has the Triarch's Will Warlord trait, which means when I'm looking at the command protocols, I can choose 4 in a given game, duplicate 1 of them to take up the 5th turn. And additionally, I'm going to be running the Caesarican Dynasty, which means the entire army can do a Deny the Witch as a stratagem on a 4-up, and additionally on the Undying Legion, whichever protocol gives me +1 back for living metal plus reroll 1 reanimation protocol dice per turn. That command protocol gets both directors available instead of just one. Then here in this corner, we have 2 sets of 3 Scorpic Destroyers, as well as 2 more Plasmacytes. So I will be running a total of 9 Scorpic Destroyers in this list. Additionally, we have the Indomitus Scorpic Lord. I ended up giving him another Warlord trait as through the Rarefied Nobility stratagem. So he has the Thrall of the Silent King Warlord trait, which means that he has 3 inches more towards his aura, which is the the bonus to wound for all destroyer units nearby him. In strategic reserves, I'm also spending 3 command points to put 2 squads of 3 Locust Heavy Destroyers into strategic reserves. They are all armed with the Gauss Destructor, and additionally I have 1 little Hexmark Destroyer who is going to be in the Trans-Dimensional Corridor to Deep Strike. Additionally, he has the Dynastic Heirloom stratagem, so he has the Gauntlet of the Conflagrator relic, which is essentially for every model in the target, I roll a dice, and on a 6 I give a mortal wound. And then here are the 9 warriors that are also camping out inside the Knight's Scythe.
And how many points total?
This is 2,000 points flat. And starting with 10 command points, because I spent 2 on stratagems pre-game. Or 7 command points after you remove the 3 for strategic reserves.
What are your secondaries?
I am running... Let me pull it up. I am running Bring It Down, Line Breaker, and Raise the Banners High.
Hi, I'm Paul Huck, also known as Puck around the local Twin City gaming community. I'm the administrator for Frozen North Gaming. I'm running Cadians today. I have 2,000 points of Cadians. I have a battalion detachment. I have an infantry squad with plasma inside this Chimera. This Chimera has a heavy flamer and a multi-laser. I have an infantry squad over here with heavy bolter. Here I have an infantry squad with las cannons. I have more infantry squads in the other direction. I have 2 units of scout sentinels with autocannons. I have a Manicore that is a full payload support ace. Here I have a tank commander with a demolisher cannon and a las cannon. I have a company commander with a power fist and a las pistol. He is my warlord. He has the Laurels of Command, which on a 4+ allows him an additional order. I have a unit of 6 Bulgrins, 3 with slab shields, 3 with brute shields. The brute shields give a 4+ invulnerable save. I have a priest here, which Zealot allows them an extra attack. I have an astropath here. I'll just do this real quick.
Way better. Easier on the arm.
So you can see them.
Thank you, sir.
The astropath has Psychic Barrier, which can lower that invulnerable save down to 3, and their armor save down to 1. I have 2 Basilisks here. I have another squad of infantry with heavy bolter, another squad of infantry with las cannons, another unit of scout sentinels with autocannons. I have armored sentinels with las cannons and hunter killer missiles. I have another Chimera, this one with a heavy bolter, and a infantry squad with plasma in it, and another full payload Manicore. Full payload is I do 3 damage flat. I have no warlord trait because I have 2 support aces. And that's my army.
How many points?
2,000 points. My secondaries are thin the ranks because he's got a lot of Necron warriors and they might come back, so I might get a lot more points than that. I have engage in all fronts, and I have deploy scramblers.
All right, the infamous roll-offs. You goes first.
Try that again. Yeah.
Going first?
Good luck, sir.
Let's do it.
All right. Oh, we never went over what the terrain should be.
Oh, yeah.
Do you want those to be hills, like they can just go up and over? Fine. You know.
Sure.
Okay.
What do we want to do with this both on top and underneath? And then, like, If you're are we going to say this is just blocking line of sight?
Line of sight blocking. We can make this a ruin.
Okay.
Today we are also going to play a special rule that costs movement to get up here. So this will be 5 inches of movement. And you can use these to go over units if there's a unit underneath here. That's just for fun and flavor because these look really cool and a lot of fun. I don't know how someone can get up there unless you deep strike.
There's ladders on it.
There's also fly.
There's also fly. I have no fly, so.
Okay. Yeah.
I see ladders. Okay. I would say again, movement.
Mm-hmm.
On top of here.
You want to just say light cover? Or?
Light cover.
Cool.
Yeah. Obscuring dense cover.
Okay.
I would say again underneath dense cover, if you're underneath.
Mm-hmm. And then exposed positions on top, I presume.
Yeah, if you're behind these things, then light cover.
Okay.
Do you want to make this impassable, or do you want to make it a hell?
Good question.
Let's make it impassable.
Impassable. Cool.
Impassable. And you can't land out with your flyers.
Fair enough.
Okay. All right.
All right, Cadia, turn 1.
Let's do it.
So for my first turn, I use a stratagem Go Recon to move the Scout Sentinels into his deployment zone, or this court over here, so that I could get engaged on all fronts. I did a wound over here, so I could do overlapping fields of fire, which allowed me +1 to my roll, and all my artillery fire landed on here because I needed to get a bunch of thin their rank points. I was able to kill 12 Necrons over here. Over here I killed 1 Necron. I also killed some more over here. Got to put that out.
Oh, yeah. 1 in each corner.
1 in each court, yeah. I also killed some destroyers over here and here as well. Okay. So at the moment it's 2-zip me, because most of my points are scored at the end of the game.
Aren't you holding some objectives?
I'm also holding this objective, this objective, and this objective, which is not scored this round.
Alright, so on to Necrons, turn 1.
Interesting end of turn 1. So I activated Protocol of the Sudden Storm for turn 1, and I chose the second directive, which means that any of my units, if they perform actions, can still shoot and not cancel the action. So with that, with movement done and shooting in place, I ended up raising the banner here and raising the banner here. So I have 2 banners for Raise the Banners High. I then ended up shooting with this blob of warriors into this squad of Scout Sentinels and plucked off 1, with the Tachyon arrow for the Overlord just being thrown in to see what'll happen, and it ended up doing 6 damage and just nuked one of them. Additionally here, the 2 squads of warriors, one disembarking from the Night Scythe, fired into this squad of Scout Sentinels and plucked off 1. And then the Night Scythe moved up here and started doing some damage to the Cadians just as a distraction, as the rest of the units start to solidify their position. One of the biggest issues I had is I wanted to charge these 2 Scorpic Destroyers into this squad of Scout Sentinels. And I got the Plasma Sight to go in first and give Overwatch and make the charge. The Scorpic Destroyers, however, failed a 4-inch charge with a command point reroll, and as such have decided to twiddle their thumbs and wait for the next turn. Because of that, the Plasma Sight ends up being out of 3 inches at the end of combat, does 1 damage to the Scout Sentinel in combat, and then decides to go die. And that is the end of round 1.
And over here, I took 2 damage in this squad of 10, and since I have 8 guys left and I'm lead 7, I did not need to roll morale.
So, scoring for secondaries at the end of round 1, I scored 1 point for killing one of the Sentinels here, and a 2nd point for bringing it down for killing the other Sentinel over here. And I don't have anything else to score for this round.
Alright, Cadia, turn 2.
So I had a pretty decent second turn. Over here, I had my Scout Sentinel move over here and go recon, try and get towards the middle over here, actually going towards that objective. Didn't get there, but that's fine. I was able to get a squad of infantry out. They have deployed scramblers, so I got scramblers in my opponent's deployment zone. They're kind of protecting the Chimera from being charged. I was able to kill this squad of Scorpic destroyers with a combination of shooting and artillery. I killed a couple of Necron warriors from flamers. Over here, I killed some more Scorpic destroyers with a combination of shooting and artillery. But more importantly, I've got some squads also in his deployment zone for engaging all fronts. So I'm scoring 3 points this round. And this Scout Sentinel charged those Scarabs, and we had a sissy slap fight. But I'm disputing his objective because he has nobody within 3 inches.
Did you score any points?
Yes, I scored 5 points for holding 3 objectives, as well for the primary.
Necrons, turn 2.
Bottom of round 2, Necrons ended up bringing the 2 squads of Locust Heavy Destroyers. So we got 1 squad right here and a second squad that drops in right here. I wanted to move them a little bit further up, but with the amount of fanning out, especially around the edges, I didn't really have a good spot to drop them in. So hopefully next turn is when they start actually trying to do some damage to the back line. Additionally, the Hexmark Destroyer snuck in right here, 9 inches away from the Cadian infantry squad, and the Scout Sentinel, the Bulgarins, and the Cadian infantry squad that used to be there. So with that, these warriors moved up to try to consolidate onto this position here. The Scorpic Heavy Destroyers pushed up my flank here, and from there on we started shooting. The 3 Locust Heavy Destroyers here...
Hang on a second. You're going too fast for me.
Sorry.
I gotta move around slow because otherwise people get motion sickness.
Fair.
Okay, go ahead.
These 3 Scorpic Heavy Destroyers took out the tank commander in a single volley of fire. Additionally, the 2 Necron blobs here cleared out the entire Cadian infantry squad over here, and then the larger blob charged in just to keep the Chimera busy. The Hexmark Destroyer here, just with his pistols, killed an entire squad of Cadians with the las cannon in the back, and additionally tried to use the Flensing Claw, or whatever the relic's name is, to chunk off a few Cadians from the second squad and failed all of the rolls. Then over here, the Necron warriors tried to do a bit of damage onto the Scout Sentinel, did not succeed. However, my Overlord charged in and ended up doing 5 damage onto it, leaving it with 1 wound remaining, while the Scarabs fanned out just to ensure that I have Lookout Star between this warrior and the Overlord, so hopefully he doesn't get nuked next turn. Then, lastly here, 3 Locust Heavy Destroyers tried to do some more damage onto the front Chimera here, left it with, I can't check, 4 wounds left because of a few bad rolls. However, the 3 Scorpic Heavy Destroyers plus the Plasmacytes charged into the infantry squad and tied up the Chimera in close combat. So that Canoptic Plasmacyte is definitely carrying its 15 points well. And there are now 2 Cadian infantry members left in this squad, and however many, I'm assuming 10 because I don't think I actually did any damage to that squad, left. And that is the end of round 2. I picked up 5 points on the primary for holding 2 objectives. Would have picked up 10, but this Scout Sentinel just denying me points everywhere. And I additionally scored 2 points for Raise the Banners High because I still have these 2 banners in place. And hopefully next turn I'll then have another banner in place over here so I can start racking up more points moving forward into round 3. That is the bottom of round 2. Forgot to log this, but I scored 2 points for bringing it down because I took out the tank commander. which means my grand total for bringing it down is at 4 victory points so far.
So Cadia, turn 3.
This is a super important role for me because these Hexmark destroyers,
Locusts.
these locusts over here, just went through my Lehman Russ battle tanks like butter, so they've got to die. This far unit over here has one guy on 1 wound left, and I have 1 armored sentinel who can squeeze a shot through. He's already missed once, even though I have overlapping fields of fire, which gives me a +1 to hit. I'm re-rolling my die, command re-roll, to hit him.
Four dice.
I miss.
Ay caramba.
Alright. Hit me with what you got. Or like what else you got?
So into turn 3, I knew that I had to take out those locust destroyers because, as I have said, they cut through my Lehman Russ battle tank, which was right here, like butter. So I was able to do a couple wounds over there with that unit, and I did overlapping fields of fire, which gives me +1 to my hit. And with our intense artillery barrage, I was able to take out that unit of 3. Then I focused on the next unit over here, and I was able to take out 2 more, leaving 1 left. I withdrew my Chimera and this infantry squad back, which allows me to get engaged on all fronts. This squad over here has deployed scramblers, which gave me 15 points, which was a massive boost. They're not doing much. This unit of Ogren has charged this Hexmark. He did kill 1 in Overwatch, and I got him down to 2 wounds. That's my turn. I have 3 objectives scoring me 5 points. I also have engage on all fronts scoring me 3 points.
10 points on primary.
10 points primary, yeah.
Alright, spun in Necrons, turn 3.
Bottom of round 3, I charged this whole flank here, took out the Chimera, had the Chimera explode into a ball of flame, had it kill my Canoptic Plasmacytes and also Cadian, and push through afterwards. So we have a squad of 3 Scorpic Destroyers plus the Scorpic Lord charging up forward. Back here, I'm holding this objective. I have the Canoptic Scarabs as well as the Overlord holding onto this point. I raised the banners high, so I have 3 points that are now going to slowly be generating me victory points. And the Warriors then chose to hold on here. Back over here, he failed a 3-up with a command point reroll against the Scout Sentinel, so yeah. And over here, I ended up shooting a bit at this squad of Cadians, clearing house a little bit, and then doing just some core punches at the Chimera with very little success. The Hexmark ended up getting clubbed to death afterwards in combat, and that is the end of Battle Round 3. I picked up 5 points on the primary because I decided to consolidate my Warlord forward instead of having him hold the point, so I'm gonna remember that next time. I picked up 4 points on, or not 4 points, 2 points on Raise the Banners High, and I picked up 2 points for killing the Chimera. For whatever the harder they fall, whatever the tank killing one is.
Bring it down.
Bring it down, there we go.
So what's the score at right now?
I am losing pretty badly. Let's see, so picked up, or no, I already picked up.
Well, the Chimera is only 1 point because it's 10 wounds.
Okay. Now for Raise the Banners High, I'm still at 4. So I'm sitting at 20 points total.
I give it 40. 63, 40. high 63.
Oh, okay.
I have deployed 15 points for deploy scramblers.
Oh, yeah, okay.
I have 8 points for engage on all fronts.
Yep.
I haven't counted my thin the ranks yet, because that's at the end of the game.
Yeah.
You have 8 points for bring it down, 7 points for raise the banner high, 0 points for line breaker.
Yeah. I'm not scoring anything for line breaker. I don't think I...
No, that was a poor choice. We'll discuss it.
Yeah. Yeah, that was a very poor choice.
Alright. Cadian.
So into turn 4, I use this mana core to take out that Locust Destroyer way over there. I use Intense Artillery Barrage to take care of these destroyers right here. I attempted to get this one, this lord here, but he has a 4+ invulnerable save, and he was able to make his saves. I was able to move this solitary Scout Sentinel over here in order to get to this table quarter and into some cover. And then these Bulgarins came over and gave these Necron warriors and this Warden a special hug to take that objective. I was able to score 10 points for primary, 3 points for engage on all fronts.
Yeah.
I was going to throw the dice. That's it.
Okay. No, I thought you were going to point to something.
Oh, no. I was like, I'm going to fiddle with the dice. Oh, wait, no, I can't.
Alright, Necron's turn 4.
Bottom of round 4, with the Necrons, we ended up speed rolling through. The Locust Lord, or the Scorpic Lord, charges straight in, kills one of the Armored Sentinels, and then leaves 3 wounds remaining on the second one, and the Sentinels don't do anything to hit back. The giant blob of warriors that is definitely not making its points back over the course of this game has decided to continue sitting on these 2 points, so Scarabs and Lord control this point, large blob controls this point. So I scored 5 for primary since I lost control of this objective here. Though, if I had fallen back with the Necrons, they have I have OPSEC over the... Okay. So I could have, in theory, scored another 5 if I fell back and then got obliterated next round. They're going to get obliterated anyways, so...
Yeah, the Bulgarin would have charged in.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Actually, the Chimera itself would have taken care of you, but
That's fair.
you know, because vehicles are awesome in combat.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, that's how that more or less shakes up. There's not really much in terms of killing potential I have left on the map outside of the Scorpic Lord, and then in terms of board control, I effectively have... Oops!
What are we talking about playing with dice?
I can't help it, I keep fidgeting. But, I got it.
Gotta get you a fidget spinner.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm gonna put my hands on my hips now, like I'm angry, but I'm not angry. I'm just not gonna fidget with dice. Really, all I have left for next turn is a giant blob of 20 warriors that realistically might take 1 or 2 wounds off of the last Chimera. And so, I'm already behind by like 40 points so far, so this is not going great. I think we're gonna call it.
Good game.
Good game. Yeah.
Good game, Talha.
That was a good game, yeah.
I was a little scared by all the 3+ bit guys that could come back together, and I wasn't sure exactly how my artillery would do, but they did work for sure.
Yeah, that definitely work. I definitely need to find a better way to move up the board, because when I'm losing like a squad and a half each turn, before they're even like halfway up to actually start like shredding through infantry, and like, I think if I had Scorpics go against your Bulgarins, that would have gone a little bit better than the Warriors, which kind of...
Do your Warriors have a way to get out of that croissant roll quickly?
Yes. So...
What can you do? Because like for me, if I had a Valkyrie, I have Grass Shoot Insertion, which drops me down within 5 inches.
So, I can instead hold the warriors in reserves and have them drop from the croissant as like a stratagem.
Okay.
I think dropping the warriors early was also a bad decision because
Very much so.
if I pushed them out here, I could then drop a squad of 10 and have them essentially blast and maybe tie something up in close combat.
You didn't threaten me at all in my back rank.
Yeah.
At all.
And
so
I took Linebreaker, and that was a huge mistake.
And if you drop the warriors down, then I'd have to have my Bulgrins take care of it,
Mhm.
or dedicate artillery
Yeah.
to clearing my back rank, so I had no threats.
Yeah.
And they didn't do anything back then,
Mhm.
you know.
Yeah, the blob of 20 definitely did not work out.
Yeah.
I think the first change I'd make for re-architecting this list is I'd move the blobs of 20 into blobs of 10, so I can at least start splitting them up a bit.
Frees up points too.
Yeah, frees up points. It does mean that I can't like super buff any unit, like a giant blob of 20 warriors with like +1 to hit from the Overlord, but they shot like 2 times this game, and they were shooting at Valkyries, so like, or not Valkyries, at Sentinels, so like, it didn't really matter.
That's why I have Sentinels, you know, they're cheap, they're 35 points a model. Base.
Wow, okay.
Yeah, with a multi-laser and that's it.
Mhm.
So my autocannons, they're 10 points. They're 45 points. My armored sentinels are just as cheap, actually, so they're fantastic. Second flyer, and that way you can bother me in 2 different corners, or if you clear out a corner, now you can drop somebody off an objective, or you can, you know, threaten, or you can start doing deploy scramblers, get points like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think another mistake you made was taking Linebreaker.
Absolutely.
And you only really had one thing that was going to be able to do it, because there's no way I was going to allow you to get in my deployment zone with a deep strike.
Yeah.
And I have enough guys to prevent that.
Yeah. I was hoping that maybe the Hex Mark and the Warriors could do it, and then the Hex Mark drops in the middle of the table, and the Warriors drop in my deployment zone, just because of how many losses I took that first round of shooting. So I think swapping out Linebreaker with something else probably would have been a better solution. I think Raise the Banners High was okay. I held...
And then you 7 points total.
Yeah.
Grind them down, or something similar like that might have been better.
Yeah.
You might have the speed for engagement on fronts, get some points that way.
Yeah.
I recommend reading up on the secondaries before the GT you're attending next week.
Definitely.
Which is the spring up GT. So, yeah. Speaking of the GT, how are you doing on that? Are you prepared for that? What do you think you need?
I am absolutely not prepared at all. So this is my first tournament that I will be able to attend. And having it be a GT instead of like a Rogue Trader tournament definitely is a little overwhelming, but I'm a big fan of Trial by Fire. So I figured if this goes poorly, I lose 2 days of essentially like losing games of 9th edition by like 80 points apiece, which isn't the end of the world because I'll be better and like
that's a great attitude. First GT is a fantastic way. You can make I've made a lot of new friends attending GTs, friends from different states, friends from different cities. This is an opportunity for you to expand not only your player base but your friend base as well. Get to meet new people. When you attend a GT for the first time, you definitely need to make sure you've got a few things. Make sure you've got a tape measure, maybe 2, because your opponent might have set his down, forgot about it, or not have one. Make sure you have enough dice. Make sure you've got comfortable shoes, because you're going to be standing for hours upon hours on end, and your feet are going to hurt.
Okay.
Have water, because you'll probably have a headache by the end. Maybe have some aspirin. Pad of paper, a pen or a pencil, something to write with. Maybe a peanut butter or 2, and jelly sandwiches, something to eat.
Can I just bring a jar of peanut butter? Just like
you could, sure. Yeah. Definitely make sure you eat something, especially on the lunch break.
Yeah.
You know, get some food in your stomach.
Setting a timer on your watch or phone isn't bad either.
Okay.
Because then you can kind of keep track of where am I in the game. Because if somebody's slow rolling you or whatever, then at least you know what's going on.
You can request a chess clock if you want. And I used to be afraid of chess clocks and not like chess clocks, but I played a game in another tournament once like that because the opponent wanted it.
Yeah.
It was fun and frantic, and it made me make decisions. Sometimes they were the wrong one, but I'm like, okay, I gotta do this, I gotta do this, I gotta do this. Bam, your turn.
Yep.
You know, deploy, bam, deploy, bam. It was a lot of fun, actually. I enjoyed it more than I actually thought I would. So
Okay.
And I have a chest clock, so next time if you guys want to play with a chest clock, we
We
can
should
certainly
try it
do
out
that.
after the Renegade, because
Yeah.
the week
100%.
after I'll be definitely ready to roll out a little bit more.
Did you see me make any mistakes that you thought was something I should have done differently?
The only thing I could think of is the Bulgarins kind of just sat in like this area for quite a while before moving down. I was kind of curious what your plan was with that.
They were counter deep strike,
Okay.
and my middle was very vulnerable.
Mm-hmm.
I was basically more on the right flank than the left flank.
Yeah.
All I had was an infantry squad or two, and a concerted push by you probably could have done that.
Yeah.
If you shot at those infantry, I also have a stratagem that gives them a +1 to their save.
Okay.
So there's that.
Yeah.
But yes, I should have moved them up. I also failed several times doing any psychic powers, giving them psychic barrier, or maybe even giving my tank commander a psychic barrier, so maybe he might have lived. He could have had an invulnerable save or something. So
yeah, I definitely.
There was something that you said you were going to mention at the end of the game. I forget what it was. As far as moving somebody up, or I forget what it was.
It was the Bulgrin, moving the Bulgrin up. It was moving my Bulgrin up, because I was able to get a charge off in the hex mark, slingshot a little bit forward, able to get into and take over that objective, and I probably could have taken that objective or denied the middle sooner had I moved the Bulgrin up.
Yeah.
That would deny your hex mark, the middle of the board, and some shots on that infantry squad back there.
I think I should have placed the hex mark up top instead of in the bottom, in that respect.
There you go.
That would have denied the Bulgarin and still given me a clear firing arc to the infantry squads.
Yep.
I am happy with the damage output of the hex mark against infantry.
That was nuts. You killed an infantry squad.
Yeah. So I know there are going to be quite a few Death Guard players, a few Dark Eldar players, and a few Tyranid players at the GT. So I'm really hoping that, like, if there's a bunch of Hormagaunts or a bunch of Witches out in the open, that I can chunk them, like, notably with just, like, the wounding on 2s, hitting on 2s pistols. That's, like, the toughness 3 infantry. And
the Dark Eldar are definitely going to kite you around a lot.
Mm-hmm.
So I would recommend being more aggressive.
Yeah, definitely. I could have done a better job of using my Overlord's ability to increase my movement, so that instead of like a base 5 camping right in my deployment zone, I could have probably daisy chained a bit more and actually moved into the center board.
Yeah, 100%.
Additionally, I was very poorly doing my reanimation replacement, because I was doing the reanimation almost like a feel no pain, but in theory what happens is you can actually place the models back on afterward. Like, you remove the models, and then when you pass the reanimations, you can place them back in unit coherency.
Oh yeah, you can chain it forward.
So I could have started chaining forward, and what ended up happening is I got chunked so hard from like one of the warriors, and then I had to then move forward again to actually get into objective range. And I could have just, like, by how many reanimation rolls I made, just chain myself onto objectives as like a pre-game, like a pre-turn 1 move, and I just
100%.
didn't even bother doing that.
Do you have anything that can do a scout move?
I can do a scout move if I change my dynasty. That's another thing I completely forgot. My dynasty gives me a reroll 1 wound per shooting. That would have really helped.
So I recommend before the GT that you definitely peruse your rules again in your dynasty and make sure you know all your rules backwards and forwards.
I was like, I'm going to have the reroll for my destroyers, and they're going to be fine. And then I just didn't even bother. Oof,
maybe take your units, put them all on 3x5 cards. So you can flip through cards as opposed to flipping through your book, which is faster. Make sure that if you're using the app and your opponent's using the ITC app, that you're doing points as they're doing points.
Okay.
Because you had a point total is way different than the point total that I had.
Yeah. Yeah, so I'm going to have to get used to that app, because that's the first time I've used it.
Yep. Wasn't there a retreat and fire or something that happened that you
mentioned? Yeah. So I could have, because my warriors were in range of my warden, fallen back, ensured objective secured on the point that the Bulgarins had just cleared out, because the warriors have OBSEC.
Yes.
And then they could have continued to fire with their Assault 2 blasters into the Bulgarins,
Wait, if they fell back, they can still shoot?
With the Warden. That was the whole thing the Warden could let me do.
Oh, okay.
So what I could have done is fallen back the warriors and then have the Warden charge into the Chimera just to keep the Chimera tied up. And let the warriors then just start blasting away at the Bulgarians, because then I'd be firing like 14, 15, 16 shots of strength 5 AP -2, which would have done a lot better than like the pew-pew pistols on the Hexmark.
I was totally okay with your warriors pounding away at my Chimera.
Yeah.
Because that gave me engage on all fronts, didn't have to worry about it, you weren't doing any damage to it.
Yeah.
I only had a flamer and I'm a multi-laser, which is not a lot of damage output in my opinion. Yeah, go ahead, whale away on it. I'll just keep racking up a couple points here and there.
Yeah.
No big deal.
I was just not nearly as aggressive as I should have been this game. I think spending 3 command points on strategic reserves for the Locust Heavy Destroyers was also not the best idea.
Yeah, possibly.
Because if I had them turn 1, with how short the table is now, I would have been able to one-shot your tank commander turn 1, if any of them had survived. But if you had focus fired them, then my Scorpics that have been just taking a pounding for all of turn 1 suddenly move up to the mid-board without anything in the way. And then next turn they can start charging in. And I'd force you to prioritize either the range threat or the close range threat. And as soon as those Scorpics can get into close range, they blended through the infantry in that corner. They
were 10-man, but sure.
Yeah, but the 3-man Scorpic still ended up doing a decent amount of damage also to the Chimera.
Yes.
And if I can get them to start tying up resources in like your deployment zone, suddenly like if one Basilisk isn't shooting, my the amount of firepower I'm taking is tiny compared to what it would be.
It was a massive amount, definitely.
Yeah. It's a lot of dice.
Could even be worse. If I didn't take Bulgarian, I'd take some more. Another tank commander, maybe.
Oh, yeah. But I need to find another way to cut through it like butter.
What about the unit size? You'd mentioned that.
Yeah, so I think so when I was building this list, a lot of the lists that I saw for Necrons that did well in tournaments were like multiple blobs of 20 warriors. Even if you're maxing out on blast, you have them with a 5-up invuln from like a support character, and you're doing like even more reanimation rerolling. And so just when you essentially have a 5-up invuln, 5-up reanimation, rerolling 1s, and potentially like an orb or a cryptic, so every turn you also bring back D3 models. These blobs of 20 warriors are suddenly just like rocks on the battlefield that you can't really churn through. The issue is I'm not bringing those support characters because I love destroyers, so more than half of my list right now is just destroyer cult models. So I have blobs of Necrons that are decently durable, as we saw through like the amount of reanimation protocol rolls they made, but they don't have the support to actually justify the 20 warrior blobs. And if I split them into like 10s, I suddenly am much harder to push off the table against blast. And so instead of the guaranteed 12 shots coming from the Basilisk that is just like raining hell on my blob of warriors before they can do anything.
Manicore,
okay.
Basilisk would have had 6 shots.
Okay. But still, like, 12 and 6 shots, if you roll really lucky, suddenly most of the squad is gone. Whereas if it ended up being the lower tier of blast and you have a guaranteed 3, then let's say you're just like averaging like 6 shots instead of 12 for the Manicore, 3 to 4 or 5 shots for the Basilisk. That's like a tiny amount of damage output. And I still have the same amount of warriors, I just spread them out and they're actually able to hold more than one objective marker. So like the 260 points of warriors I had right in the middle of my deployment zone that did absolutely nothing all game.
I had an infantry squad that did the same thing. I had nothing to shoot at.
But the infantry squad is like 45 points, right? Or 60, something like that.
50 points.
Yeah, so like 50, like that's 1/5 of like how much I threw in. So like you could have had for the same amount of points like 4 other squads of infantry. You did have 4 other squads of infantry that were pushing out and like capturing objectives or causing harassment in that corner or dying in droves so that your Chimera lasted longer over there.
Also harassing, yeah.
Yeah. And I just didn't have that flexibility. Especially because I could have gotten a squad of 20 as 2 sets of 10 in my Night Scythe, straight push with the Night Scythe over here, drop down 2 different blobs, and suddenly now I'm actually possibly scoring Linebreaker if I didn't change that.
Yeah, that's the whole point of my 2 2 Scout Sentinels and a Chimera with an infantry squad in either flank. They push up. One of them is going to do go recon, so now I'm in your deployment zone. Now I'm getting 2 points at least right away. I'm getting something. And then ideally I'm able to drop off an infantry squad so I can deploy scramblers and get that taken care of right away. Usually I would have 2 Valkyries to do the same thing. So I'd have a 3-man Bulgrin unit come in, do some harassing, and then the infantry squad will drop down and do the deploy. This list I had, this was a different list. I put it together because it was painted, but it didn't do terribly.
Yeah.
It was alright.
I like that list.
I usually have Scions that will be deep striking and doing other harassing, but I find Scions tend to die like next turn even with their 4+ armor. So.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, the final score was 81-47. Imperial Guard win. I definitely would play Talha again. It was our first game together. Yeah. And I'm sure we will. So, good game.
Good game.
We were mentioning the Renegade Open, the tournament that Thalha's going to this weekend. The link's down below, so definitely check that out. And like, share, subscribe. We'll see you in the next one.
Spring Up GT. Renegade Open is who puts it on. You want to do that over?
Yeah, let's do that over.
Okay.
So
he's going to the Spring Up GT put on by the people who do the Renegade Open in November.
And that link is down below, so definitely check that out. Like, share, subscribe. We'll see you in the next one.
Don't forget to hit that bell to get notified when we have new battle reports.
Right on. Join the Horde.